Brother, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I know you're in Nashville, Tennessee. I got a lot of friends down there, so it's a fun town. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your current business, what you do, and then I'd like to go back to the beginning and kind of hear about how this all started.
Yeah, it's been an absolute journey. I've been in business for about 8 years, but pleasure to be on. Right now, we're running Aspect, which is the sign above me. But the gist of it is we're an email and SMS agency. We help direct to consumer and e-commerce brands basically add a lot more money to their email marketing system. So
Mm,
whether it's Klaviyo, OmniSend, SendLane, we basically manage the whole end-to-end process of from idea, strategy to um, design, copywriting, and actually getting it sent out and making our clients some money.
mm. So you're focused mostly on that like email side, and I know the SMS text side.
Yeah, not before, but
Mm.
now it's just email and SMS, and we can dive into that.
Yeah, well, why don't you take me back? Because I was kind of reading your bio, and I know you've been in the business world for a long time, like even since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get started in business? What was the impetus to become an entrepreneur, and how did you arrive at where you are currently?
Yeah, that's a solid question. I'd say like way back, I knew like I like the agency and like the not agency in the sense of like an organization, but like
Mm,
agency as in like having freedom of my own, like freedom of to do anything that I wanted to do and have like the control of myself, essentially like independence in a way. Um,
mm-hmm.
so I always really liked that, but I didn't know how to do that when I was younger. I didn't know that being a business owner is like a profession.
Mm.
So
I have behind me the high agency tricycle right there,
what is
which
that?
is it's this author George Mack. He wrote a whole paper about high agency that you'd probably love, just given that you said the word.
Yeah.
But the three pillars of the high agency triangle are clear thinking, bias towards action, and disagreeability. So essentially, it's like one, you're disagreeable. So someone tells you like, dude, you can't start a business. You're like, like maybe they're not right. Maybe like I'm right and I think that I can start this email business. And when people tell me like, dude, that field's not gonna like have any money in it, you just go, well, I kind of disagree with you on that. The clear thinking aspect, because if you don't have the clear thinking aspect of disagreeability, you're just like, no, dude, like I can build a rocket ship, and people are like, maybe you should like, you know, learn about this a little bit, or
Yeah.
like, I can, build a glider that'll sail me down this mountain. It's like, maybe you're not thinking clearly about this, and then it's bias towards action. So once you have those two things, then you go, I'm thinking clearly. I understand and believe in my opinion, and now I have a bias towards action. I'm going to go. I'm going to start moving forward in the correct direction. So he talks about the old third world prison idea. Like if you had to call somebody to break you out of third world prison, like what would that person be like? And they would be someone who has very high agency. And he kind of talks about like if you're lacking these things, then they're gonna not have a bias towards action. So they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm still plotting. I'm planning. I'm scheming. I'm studying criminal justice.
Yep.
If they're not a clear thinker, then they won't be able to like put the proper ideas together. And then if they don't have that disagreeability, they just be like, it's impossible, dude. There's no way anybody can break you out, right? So you'd probably love it.
Yeah, I definitely got to put that on my reading list. I'm currently reading through a few books right now, and I already feel like I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, that one's just an article. So yeah, that
Oh,
one's like
okay.
it's like a 30-minute read. So yeah, you could knock that one out over the weekend, man.
Perfect.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but yeah, you were telling me about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But yeah, as a kid, I just always liked having my own freedom and independence and being able to do whatever I wanted. Um, and I didn't know that you could actually have this as a career or be like a self starter in a way. And it kind of started, I got the itch for it in high school. So in high school, I used to make custom designed t shirts. I was part of a print media club. And
Mm,
basically, after school, every Wednesday, you can play around with any of like the school software, like any of the Adobe suite or like Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, etc. And you can design your own t-shirts. The teachers that stayed after, shout out to Miss Smith, she would help guide you on like how to use the heat press, how to use like a vinyl cutter, how to use like dye sublimation and all the crazy stuff. So like that's where I really started to like get creative and like, okay, cool, I have this idea, let me make a shirt on it. It's similar to like this. It says I'm built different, but what you don't see on the bottom, it says incorrectly. Um,
Mm, that's
so
funny.
so yeah, it would be like basic shirts that are just funny, and then like kids in school like started to pick up on it, give me compliments, and I'm like, yeah, I can make this for you, and they're like, oh, well, I have a team. I'm playing for this team for this day. Like, can you make us like 6 shirts? And I'd be like, yeah, of course. And then I would sell shirts that way and kind of make pocket change that way and spend it on like Arizona iced tea and Snickers bars and stuff like that. But I didn't know what money was as a high school
Right.
kid. Um, so that basically was like the basis of it. And when I graduated high school, I went to community college, started to study mechanical engineering.
Mm,
First year, I mean, you're not really touching anything engineering related except for maybe calculus classes, and those were boring to me. Like, I just
mm,
couldn't focus. And one day where I was just procrastinating, I just went on Reddit r slash like entrepreneurship, and I saw like a post on like, hey, make money online by selling your own T-shirt designs without doing any of the fulfillment. I'm like, well, this is perfect. And it
mm,
basically showed you step by step on how to like create a Shopify store and connect it to
mm.
Amazon Seller Central, so your listings go automatically on Amazon. So you have a buyer market already. All you have to do is just create the designs, upload them to, I forgot the name of the software, but it's similar to like Printful, where like you
Yeah,
just
right.
upload a design and they just drop
Print
ship.
on demand. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, print on demand. And for like, I think the first day I put a shirt up, it was like of a B-16 bomber from like World War II. It sold, and I'm like, okay, cool, something's there, and it wasn't my dad. That's the thing that threw me off, because I sent my dad the link right before I published it, and I'm like, here, you got to buy this. But it wasn't my dad, so I'm like, oh, okay, someone's actually looking this stuff up and wants something. So I started to put up a bunch of old designs that I had made in high school, and it didn't really pick up until Kendrick Lamar dropped like the Damn album in 2017. So I made a shirt around that, and that sold like hotcakes.
Mm.
So I'm like,
What
okay,
was the shirt?
it just said Damn on it.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was the most basic thing. It just, I'm like, okay, you can't really copyright this. It's just,
Well, right. You can't copyright like profanity. That was the whole like Redskins thing. The Washington Redskins. They removed their trademark as a football team because they're like, you can't copyright this. This is a slur. So then they were
really?
like, yeah, that's what happened. That's one of the primary reasons because they're like, now you can't protect any of your designs for this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'm like, okay, I guess they're the Washington team now,
Yeah. Right.
or whatever they're called. I'm not
Well,
too into football,
I'm a
but
Browns fan, so they're unfortunately way better than us.
um, yeah. So I started to then focus in on like the rap music niche and just making
Mm.
shirts there. I made one about like a famous Gucci Mane quote. I made one about like just anything that was like culturally relevant at the time. Like Migos were popping off, and I just like kept hammering that, and I think we scaled to about like 10K a month just organically by selling those shirts. I was probably taking home around like 2 grand a month, and at the time I'm like, holy shit, this is real money. Like, and I'm not working a job either,
Right.
so
Yeah,
uh,
and you're not having to touch any of the fulfillment either because that's all set up on remote.
exactly, yeah. So
Isn't
my
it funny how you learned how to make T-shirts and that's what drew you to that post? You're like, I know how to make T-shirts, but you didn't actually need to
yeah,
make any of the T-shirts.
no, I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I was just operating on vibes basically, where it's like, okay, cool, I'm thinking of this T-shirt. Let me put it up, see if it sells. It sells or doesn't sell. So I was just pumping those out, and about at the end of like my first college year, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't want to continue. I'm just gonna go full in on this.
Mm,
And mom was not happy with that. Dad was like, all right, cool, let's give it a try. So just kept running with it. And one night, my Amazon account got shut down for copyright
classic.
infringement.
Yep, classic.
Even though there's really nothing to prove, it's just all like I try to be as careful as possible around it. But Amazon's Amazon. You got to listen to Daddy, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
So,
we know that. We know that one well. Yeah.
yeah, you definitely know that one. And all
Hmm.
my funds, I had like 6 grand in funds just tied up, and I couldn't do anything about it. So my Shopify store at the same time was also like every single shirt that I was publishing on Amazon also had its own Shopify listing, and that was organically being listed on Google, and I had
Mm.
no idea about it. So I just sometimes get like a random Shopify sale, and I'm like, this store isn't even fully built out. Like it's just like the most basic listing. It would get
So,
fulfilled.
somebody's like, "Am I getting scammed if I buy this?" Ah, just buy it. Let's just see what happens.
Literally though, like it's exactly like that. It's like $20 shirt. Okay, cool. Like I'll buy it. I'll give it a risk, and it ended up being fulfilled. So
Mm,
like that was like a really good wake up call for me. So I'm like, okay, cool. How do I figure out like how to drive more traffic to my store? And
mm,
so I redesigned the entire Shopify store to be more of a storefront, so that way it's more trustworthy. And I started to focus on a lot of SEO, and that's where I like got stumbled into Alex Becker and everything that he's doing, because he had a lot of SEO content back in the day, and he had like a whole SEO community and all that. So he had like the whole agency model of like, run an SEO slash website agency, and you can sell clients at like 2 to 3K a month, and all you need is 4 clients, and you have 10K a month. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
mm-hmm. The numbers add up. That makes
Yeah,
sense to me.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, only 4 clients. Little did I know how freaking hard it is to get clients.
Well, I mean, I think you hit on an important thing there that sometimes your naivete is a superpower in entrepreneurship. You're just like, I could do that,
Yeah,
sure. And
exactly.
maybe it's disagreeability, maybe it's naivete.
It's the action taker. It's like, okay, cool, sure, like I'll do it. And then,
Mm-hmm.
3 months later, like still no clients, still trying to figure things out. The shirt store is the only thing that's paying me. Um, and I basically evolved into, I think at that point I had to get a job. So luckily, like all the skill sets that I did build up from that landed me like a 50K a year job at like
Mm,
um, a loan brokerage place, and I was part of like the marketing department, and
mm,
that was like great. Like I was able to move out of my parents' house, get an apartment, get a car, but still try and figure out like the agency side. I was like, okay, cool. The agency is the thing that I want to do forward, or I want to move forward with. The shirt business was starting to dwindle because everyone started to get into print on demand, and that was already a saturated niche.
You're
Um,
probably dedicating less time to it also.
exactly, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the agency side because I'm like, I like, I like the, I like building out the infrastructure when I was working on the store. Like that was my favorite thing by far. Um, the design side, not so much, because like, okay, you can only come up with so many ideas before you have to do the rest of the business. That's where
Mm-hmm.
like everything in the business kind of caught up to just making t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at that point I was like, okay, cool, like we need to just focus on the agency. And over time it grew, and in 2020 got a really big break and started to get a lot more traction. And we focused in on ecom in 2020 because that's where everyone was going to. Everyone was like, we don't know if we're going to have storefronts anymore, so okay, let's focus on ecom. And at that point, I knew Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, website design. So I knew everything. And we were like a full service agency.
Mm.
Fast forward 2 years, we have like 3, 4 employees at the time. And we had like 6 clients, all with like different service packages. And I was burnt out because I'm handling like 80% of the workload.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone on my team is kind of like an extension of me. They're just doing one-off tasks rather than having agency on their own and fulfilling for clients on their own. And everyone was burnt out on the team. I was burnt out. The clients weren't getting the results, so we're like, okay, cool. Let's pivot to email. This has the highest retention by far. This has the best return, and we have the highest success rate with our clients.
So
And
previous to that, you were doing like a lot of services, like paid ads and everything for those clients.
yeah, we did Meta ads, Google ads, website design, SEO, landing
Yeah.
pages, creative,
Jeez.
like yeah.
Well, what we have found too in our business is also when you're trying to control too much of someone else's business, then the responsibility is solely and exclusively on you for success.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm not having success, I'm trusting you to do like 50 or 60% of my business. So like you're in charge of making this go. So we kind of very early on like made sure we told people like we don't touch your Shopify, we don't market your Shopify. We're not your grocery store broker. We're not going to get you into Walmart, Kroger, Costco. Like that's not what we do. We focus on this very narrow thing. And the better you do at your thing, the better we do at our thing because it all just kind of funnels to each other. And I'm sure you kind of found that out the same way.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way. I didn't know what expectations were or setting client expectations were at the time.
Oh, that's a big one, right?
Yep. Yeah, it only took, burning through a few clients in order to just learn that lesson. But luckily on the other side of it, it worked out. I grew a backbone, started saying no to more deals, and only started focusing on the email side. And now we have about a team of 6, and we're still constantly growing. Just focusing on that.
So you say a big break was 2020 COVID. Was that what you kind of mean by that? That
Yeah.
retail stores went away and everyone sort of went, "Holy crap, we got to focus on these websites now." All of a sudden,
Well, yeah, you'd call or email any business like in the local area, and I'm like, I can help you with your digital presence, whatever that means. But like, I can help you with scaling up your store. I can help you get more leads through the door, whatever it was. They're like, what is that? Or like they would have no idea on what that means, or there's no urgency to buy because I also wasn't a good salesperson at the time. Granted. Um, so now it's like, oh shit, I need to get online because everyone else is online because no one can go outside because of COVID.
yeah, that's how it was for us too. I mean, everyone was already heading towards Amazon, but it just like kicked the ball forward like 3 to 5 years. So that
Exactly.
instead of you like buying your Clorox bleach at your grocery store, you're just like, I'm just going to get that on Amazon. Why would I like drive to the grocery store to do that? It can be here tomorrow. I don't need it right now. It's fine. It'll show up tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I pretty much order like 90% of things on Amazon if I can. If I need it same day, then I'll just get like a Walmart like delivery driver to come by.
Yeah. So you pivot directly into email or just specifically focusing on that email and text. Why that niche? What was the decision making for that?
Yeah, it honestly came down to 3 things because at the time of burnout, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't even want to be in the agency space anymore. Is this even worth it? Questioning all the decisions that led up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it honestly came down to like 3 big metrics is like how long were clients staying on with us? And the clients that had email, they may have left for paid ads, but they still stayed on for email. So they are by far the ones that stayed on the longest.
Yeah.
We had already a great design crew. So like email is mostly design. Obviously there's copywriting and strategy, but you can learn that a lot easier than teaching someone how to design good. So we already had a good design team. And number 3 is, excuse me, we had the best success with email. Like if we had like whatever strategy we were running at the time, like if we plugged it into a client, they'd immediately see like a 50% lift in anything that they were doing on the email and SMS side. So we had great success. Every time I say that, I'm thinking of Borat. We had really good case studies, long retention, and a team already ready to handle everything. So it only made sense to like pivot into that. Whereas with like Facebook ads, I'd say like 6 out of 10 clients would do really well, but the other 4 would not, unfortunately. And when you're selling and you're doing the fulfillment, you're kind of thinking that when you're on the next sales call, you can't really be 100% bought in of like, yeah, we can crush it for you. When on the back end, there's a fire of like, what's going on with my ads account?
Right. Most definitely. Yeah. And you just don't necessarily believe in your ability to actually take this thing forward.
Exactly.
And that makes life a little harder to sell. Like, and we, and probably like you had to figure this out. Like some clients, it's like, I don't really have any business trying to sell this person. Like what you're doing is working. It looks great. You're doing an awesome job. Like if you hit a snag and you need us, call us. But like, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you need me because you currently don't need me. Like it's not a fit for us. There's a lot of people out there who do need us.
Yeah.
You're maybe not one of them. So when you kind of made this pivot, did you have to like offboard certain people who were like doing, meta ads or something like that?
We stopped. I think it was in 2021. I made the decision in June, and we didn't fully transition until October. So like starting June, we just stopped any new acquisition of Facebook ad clients, which really sucked because I had like referrals coming in, or like people like, hey, or like old Facebook ad clients would be like, hey, can you help us out? And it's like, I wish I could, but like I'm kind of staying strong on this. We had a few clients that were left. I think we had 3 clients that slowly kind of like churned throughout those 4 or 5 months. And by the time it was October, like pretty much everyone churned, and we're like, okay, cool, we're only doing email now. And that was there's like a weight lifted off your shoulders of like the last ads person. It's like I don't even want to check the ads manager ever again at this point.
Yeah. And was billing a lot different for Facebook ads versus email? Because like, are you charging like a load? Are you charging a percent of everything you're spending in Facebook, or were you doing just like a flat fee?
It was all flat fee, so the transition was
Mm.
pretty easy. We just had to match the flat fee. The only thing that was like the hardest transition was trying to getting better at sales enough to justify the same price that we were charging for Facebook ads and email for just email. Because we
Mm.
would charge 4K for Facebook ads and email, and now we just charged 4K for just email. And like the
Hmm.
team was like, "Are you sure we can do this?" I'm like, "I don't know." But again, it worked out. It was just a matter of getting better at objection handling, providing value, and having case studies to back it up.
Hmm. Well, I'm sure you're a fan of Alex Hormozy, and he says your prices should be so high that you're almost like embarrassed to say the price. Like he's like,
Yeah,
you should be people get like gawking when they hear your price. Be like, oh, it's 20,000 a month for email. They're like, oh, like,
yeah,
he's like, that's when you know you're like your price is high enough. And I have a buddy who's in the personal training business, and that's where I'm like trying to get him to mentally sort of like
yep.
do that because he's charging people like $150 a month for like a ton of service, and I'm like, dude, like it needs to be like 10x that price. He's like 10x. I'm like, yeah, you need like 10 client, like you need like 10 CEOs. He's a triathlete coach. I'm like, you
Hmm.
need like 10 CEOs who are trying to run a triathlon, not like, you know, people paying $150 a month, for you to coach them up.
At $150, I think like at best it would just be like text coaching. Like if you got a question, I just text you back.
He's there for him. He'll like meet with them in person. Like he'll do a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, dude, you gotta like, raise your price. And
Ask it.
what I kept telling him is like, you got to remember, Ryan, you would not hire yourself. He's like, what? I'm like, you are like a pretty much professional triathlete. You're not going to hire a coach like to teach you how to do this. Also, you're, not in the income bracket of the person that you want. I'm like, you're not even the age of the person that you want. You want like a 56-year-old guy who's like, a successful professional. Kids are out of the house, and he's like, I'm going to take up triathlon running, and like I can afford $1,000 a month coach. Like no big deal. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So just getting to that right consumer market, and he like just couldn't wrap his head around that because he's like, I would never pay $1,000 a month, and I'm like, you aren't going to pay $1,000 a month. Like someone
Yeah.
else is going to, brother. You're not the right person.
It at that point it would just come down to like I try to reverse engineer all the problems, and it's like okay, like if I'm a successful coach, like I'm making at least like 10 to 15K a month,
Right.
and
That's
at
what I kind of
15K
want.
yeah, at 15K
That's
a month, I have 100 clients that I have to
right.
visit physically at all times,
Right.
and that just sounds like a headache to me.
It's almost not possible, right?
Yeah.
It's like running around full time. So talk to me about like email. What are the services that you're kind of doing for your clients within that? Email and SMS or messaging is like a broad thing.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, and also one other question is, how did you decide on like this direct to consumer kind of business? Because there's other avenues ostensibly you could have went into.
Yeah, absolutely. When we were like back in 2019, 2020, when we were like, okay, cool, let's just do ecom, that's when I decided like, well, we need to do e-commerce because everyone's going to e-commerce. And at that point, we only had case studies in the e-com space. So I'm like, well, it's just an easy transition. And we already know how to talk to brands. I already have like brands in the pipeline, so it's easier to follow up. So it was just a more natural transition rather than, okay, cool, let me do cold email for B2B SaaS or something,
Mm-hmm.
which I could have done, but then I wouldn't have really needed the design team anymore. Um, so I just stuck with it because it was natural. And as far as like what we actually do, we're a very white glove service. So on average, a client that signs up with us, they spend maybe 30 to 60 minutes a month actually like reviewing the designs and having a call with us and reviewing reports. Otherwise, we take care of the entire like the lot basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we would come up with a strategy every month on what we're going to be doing, whether it's working on the campaigns or the automations for the client. We would segment their list automatically on a monthly basis, depending on where their deliverability is at. We would focus on the deliverability side to make sure that every single email that we're working on is getting delivered to the inbox, is not going to spam, and is not going to promotions.
Okay.
We would also focus on working through the actual copy. So, copywriting all of the emails for them to make sure that they're on brand, designing them so that they're on brand, and then setting them up within the email service provider and then scheduling it on their behalf. So, pretty much front to back, everything is taken care of. The client just needs to approve the design, catch up with us every other week to make sure that we're on top of our schedule and to make sure that we're aware of anything that's like whether they're doing like another product drop next month, or if there's a sale coming up, or if there's anything that we need to be aware of, that sort of thing.
Mm. So then ostensibly you're collecting the end customer purchase data. And that's
Yeah,
really what you're shooting for, is you're shooting for purchases at the end of the day.
exactly. Yeah.
So like what kind of the KPIs are you looking for there? Like what are you trying to accomplish? You trying to get, 5% open rate, 1% purchase rate? Like what are the primary things that clients are going to be asking for but when you are putting these together for them?
Yeah, our standard open rate that we're looking for is anywhere between 40 to 70%, depending on the
That's
niche.
extremely high.
Yep. I mean, we do a good job on deliverability side. So
I believe you. I believe you.
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but
And one of the things you said there is you're trying to avoid spam or promotions.
yeah.
So like my inbox, like I not only do I have a virtual assistant in there, like I have like all sorts of blocks on. So like what are the things that you're doing to avoid getting caught by the spam and promotions kind of tabs?
To avoid spam is relatively easy. To avoid promotions is a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
So when it comes down to the spam side, you have to make sure that you have all of your email records correctly set up. And I don't want to get super technical here, but essentially SPF, DKIM, DMARC records, these are all, it may sound like woo words for some people, but essentially they're just verifications to make sure that number one, you own the domain that you have. So if it's like alexj.com, like to make sure that all emails from alexj.com are actually coming from you and not from someone that's phishing. It's phishing with a PH,
Yep.
not casting reels. Um, so making sure that it's coming from you, and all the other ones are just to verify that the network that you're sending from is correct. It's all just technical jargon to make sure that you're sending out the emails and that it's no one else impersonating you. So that's number one. That's something you have to do. You have to warm up your lists to make sure that you can't just start sending. Let's say if you have a list of 10,000 and you just started like a Klaviyo account, you can't just send to that 10,000 right away, because when Google sees that you're trying to deliver like 10,000 messages to someone at once, they think that you're trying to like get something or extort them, or it's a phishing email, because that's usually how people that are sending out phishing emails operate. They try to get as like, it's a shotgun approach. They try to get as many people out and before they get blocked. So
Yeah.
Google blocks it before they even get the chance to do it.
By just throwing it into spam.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm learning stuff. Now, what about like the text, the actual text that you're saying in that email? Is that more like going to go to the promotion side? Like, hey, buy, sell,
Yep.
free, those kind of words? Are those things that we're going to be worried about saying?
Yeah. Anytime you mention any sort of discount, any exclamation points, any all caps subject lines, those all tend to go into the promotions box. Any of the value-based emails, so if it's like, hey, top 10 hiking trails in America, if you're like a backpack or a ruck company, then they're more likely to be pushed to the main tab or like the inbox tab, because it's a value-based email.
It's like information essentially at that point in time, as opposed to a sale.
Exactly. Same thing with any emails that contain a ton of images. Those are more likely to lead into promotions, whereas if you have a text-only email, those go into the actual inbox.
Interesting, because I was saying when I was going to say, I looked through some of your like email designs. There's a lot of really beautiful images. Do you have to be cautious about like how much is in image and like what's said in those images? Because I know even Amazon, they can scan those images and catch the text. Like they know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So with those emails that you can see like on our website under the case study section, they are a mix of image and a mix of actual text that is pre-built into like the Klaviyo builder. And that's super important, because if your entire email is images, then again, Google can't necessarily read through those images. They may, but that's a lot of processing data of doing millions of emails a second.
Right.
So they only know what's going to be on that image through the alt text. So similar to
I
like
see.
how SEO works, you have alt text describing an image. So if it's
Hmm.
like a picture of a mountain, you write picture of a mountain, then Google knows it's a picture of a mountain.
Mm.
If it's blank, Google has no idea what's being sent. It's just a blank image. And if it doesn't load on a person's computer, they just see blank. They don't even see like an alt text description.
Mm.
So it's important to have proper alt text set up on those images when you are sending out those emails, so that way Google can categorize your emails accordingly.
Mm. So you said the open rate between 40 and 70. What are you looking for like conversion rates for those people? I'm sure it varies. Like, if you're running a 50% off sale, you're probably going to get a better conversion rate.
Yep.
But what's sort of the end goal? I'm sure that your goal, and this is what I understand from agency owners, marketing agencies and such, is like, my goal initially is to like cover for the cost of my services, right? Like if I can break even, then you'll keep going. If I can get
Yeah.
you profitable, then you'll never stop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Our goal for profitability, or at least like placed order rate, that's like the metric that we look for, is anywhere between 1% to 2% on average. That's a really, really good margin, especially when you have a list of 10,000 and you know, your average order value is like 100 and 1% to 2% of those people buy. So like 100 times 100, that's 10,000.
Sounds right.
Yes. Like, I mean, that's a really good campaign. So like if we can shoot for 1% to 2%, depending on the average order value, like we're golden. Average brands that we audit before they work with us are doing anywhere between 10 to 15% of email revenue, as opposed to like their overall revenue. So if they're making 100K per month, it's about 10 to 15K per month that's coming in from email. And our goal is to double that. So get it to 25 to 30 and sometimes even 40%, depending on the niche. So, and that scales up as well. So if they're making 150 or 200 now, like if they're at 200, they're now supposed to be making 60 grand per month through email.
Mm.
So
So will you charge fees based on flat fee, or do you ever do like a performance-based fee? Do you ever just look at one and go like, "Ooh, I know what I can do with this. Like, I'm going to sink my teeth into this and like really be super profitable," or is it usually flat fee?
it's very much a flat fee. There is there's a bell curve to pricing, especially on the email side. And being in this for more than 3 years, almost 4 years now, it's funny how pricing works depending on how successful a brand is. Because if a brand is like struggling and they're doing like, and I'm not saying this is bad by any means, but it's just a customer demographic that we don't necessarily service. Like if they're doing 10K a month or 15K per month overall revenue,
Yeah.
they're like, hey, we need your services. Would you be willing to do a percentage? They would want to do a percentage if they're on the lower end.
Right.
Whereas on the higher end, they're like, oh, I'm glad you said retainer, because we wouldn't have continued this conversation if you said profitability, because that
Yeah.
eats into so much margin, especially at scale.
Yeah.
So we just stick to flat retainer based on scope. Everything is baked into that scope, so we just charge about $400 to $500 per email sent.
Okay. And what kind of products are you targeting? Is there like a certain niche, or I mean, because of course you said $100 order value. I mean, I
Yeah,
assume that's quite important that the average order value is relatively high.
yeah.
Like if they're selling, like $20 trinkets, it's just going to be hard to like cover your costs there unless you can just sell so many. And how do you get to that big of an email list? I mean, what does that typically look like for you?
Yeah, so at this point, there hasn't been an ecom niche that I haven't worked with. There's maybe like a few edge cases, but the biggest ones like fashion, jewelry, CPG, skincare and makeup, automotive. We're working with like a dental retainer company.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yep. Medical devices. Like I don't know. We worked with all niches, and at this point, like if you're running an e-commerce brand, like we can help you.
Interesting. So talk to me about like their email list. Are you assuming that they come to you with a pre-built email list? Are they buying email? like subscribers or buying emails? Are you creating the campaigns to acquire emails? Like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, super interesting question. At the point where the businesses that we mainly work with, they're already very much established and they already have an existing email list.
Mm,
So they already have anywhere between 10 to 50, like thousand subscribers. So they
mm,
already have an existing list. They are just not monetizing it properly.
mm.
Um, One thing I would say is don't ever buy an email list if you're an ecom brand because that's like the easiest way to tarnish your brand's domain reputation and get you into spam.
I was gonna ask, yeah, if it
Yeah.
like somehow tags you in a spam. Is there ever a way to do it where I can buy an email list and I can email 100 people at a time and slowly like build up the credibility, or not really?
Not really because they're unsolicited emails. No one, it's like, for example, like if you're Nike.com and you've never bought from Nike, you've never heard of Nike.com, just in a weird scenario, and Nike.com is now selling you shoes and shirts and basketballs and soccer balls, whatever. You're like, what is going on? Like, why am I getting emails from this? You're going to hit report spam.
Mm,
And enough of that happens. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people, it could be 5 out of 100 people and you're gone.
mm. So what will happen there? Like Klaviyo will block Google will block your email address.
Yep.
They won't let you send it.
Yeah, Google will start blocking your domain from going into the list that you've had before inbox.
So
We've had that happen.
it'll just you send it and Google pings back, hey, like this email is either blocked or spam. Like, do you get notified of that? Like, if I go in and I mark someone spam and blocked, like, is there a way they're going to get notified of that somehow?
Yeah, they do say reported spam. Like if your reported spam rate is too high, then Google automatically just throws you into spam. Like for the
Mm,
rest of the list. And it is quite evident. So going back to those open rates, if we're at like 40 to 70% open rates, the next send you do is like in the teens, if not less than that.
mm.
It's
So
like 8% open rate. And then you're like, okay, cool, let's take a look at what happened. And you can see the breakdown of open rates by email service provider. So you have Google, Yahoo, Outlook, Apple,
oh, interesting.
Verizon, etc. Yep. And you can see like 70,000 emails delivered to Google, 2% open rate.
Yeah, so it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Um, What about like email? Oh, so back to the subscribers. Like, so how are most of these brands acquiring the subscribers? Previous purchases through their website,
Yep.
campaigns where they've ran and got subscribers, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, there's a few main ways. So number one is purchase orders, checkouts that have been abandoned. So if someone's like in the middle of typing like their order and something happens, they get distracted, they don't finish the order, that email still gets collected.
Mm,
Pop-ups, so all those annoying pop-ups that you see on the website, those do very well. Those are like our biggest way of getting subscribers, um, if they're set up correctly. Giveaways or any cross promotion with other brands, Facebook lead forms. But I would say pop-ups are like our biggest driver um, for getting email subscribers because you already have traffic from Google, Meta, organic SEO coming in, and that's the first thing they see. Not usually, as long as it's timed correctly. They would see
mm,
that pop up, submit their email for the code, get the code as the first email, and now they're already in the system.
So you said to do it the right way. What's the right way look like? What's the wrong way look like for that?
A lot of brands think that you need to have all your information in one page. So, for example, if a pop up comes up on the website, it's like, I need your name, email, phone number, when were you born, what's your mom's maiden name?
Mm-hmm.
Not maybe not that far, but email
Social
and
security
yeah,
number, please. Yeah.
yeah, the back 3 digits on your credit card. So just email and phone number is usually the main things that people collect. And when a person sees just on average that they have to do more than one action, it's overwhelming and it's immediate like, I need to get out of here. So they back out of the pop up and do
Yeah.
their own thing.
X close. Yeah. Don't need your
Yep,
10% off. Forget it.
exactly. So we do a couple things. Number one, we don't give out the discount code right away, as in we don't offer the custom or the person that's on the website doesn't know what the actual offer is. We call it a mystery offer or a surprise offer, or your special offer. So it's like,
Mm,
oh, what is it? So it drives curiosity. That's number one. Number two, we only ask for one thing at a time. So we ask for the email first because that's like the main thing. We can't really do any communication without the email.
Mm.
So it's like sign up or put your email in for your special offer or for your mystery offer. And then on the next step, we ask for the SMS. So we don't ask for all the information on one. We make it in a multi-step pop-up. And then it's like, hey,
So
join
even
the
if
SMS
they
club.
even if they abandon, you've still got the email.
Exactly.
Clever. I like it.
Yep. And then at the end, whatever, like at the end, once they submit their email and phone number, it's like, hey, you got a 10% off discount code. And it's like, okay, cool. Like that's at least like, because if someone comes onto the website and they're like, oh, it's another 10% off code, like that's barely covering taxes.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I don't even care anymore. Like I'm not going to put my email in for a 10% off coupon code. It doesn't really matter. But if it's like hidden, or if it's not even hidden, but it's more of like a surprise or a mystery, drives curiosity, then they're more likely to submit, and now they're on our list and will forever get emails from us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like email frequency. This feels like this would be an enormous point of discussion in this world, is how frequently should I be emailing my customers?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I wrote like a whole long, sarcastic LinkedIn post on this morning. It's going out next week. I batch all my LinkedIn stuff.
All right.
I would say anywhere between 1 to 2 times a week, depending on your list size. Like if you have a list of like 500 people, like once a week is fine. Maybe once every other 2 weeks. If you have a list of like 5 to 10,000, that's when I can do like one week to the next week and interchange.
Will you segment? Is that what you'll do? Or will you just hit everybody at once still?
I would hit everybody at once depending on the message. So if it's like a big sale, like I don't want people that bought something yesterday to know about the sale. So like I'll segment those people out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But I would say a good rule of thumb is just one a week at least. And then 1 to 2 and then 2 a week once you have like a list over 10 to 15,000 people.
Why the higher number of emails with the higher number of subscribers? Just because you'll cancel more people out?
Yeah, exactly. Like you'll be able to cancel more people out, and you can do more segmentation. So, for example, if someone's buying toothbrushes on your website, then you can make a message specifically for people that buy toothbrushes versus the people that buy toothpaste, and then you can make a special message for them.
Yeah, or if you sell male versus female kind of things, you could do 2 emails, one for gals, one for guys per week.
Exactly.
I got it. So what do you see happen if you're emailing too frequently or not frequently enough?
Infrequently, you're just missing on revenue. Because like every time you send an email, people are going to buy. It's just, depends on what you're selling. If you're selling like a $2,000 product, maybe not, because the AOV is so high and the buy-in is so high. But if you're selling anything basic, like even if it's like one of these like arm exerciser things, like it's like $20, like someone's gonna buy it. So like you're just missing out on revenue, and it's so cheap to send out an email compared to like if you were to reach 10,000 people on Facebook, that's at least like $100 depending on the niche and the CPM versus with email, you already have their email. You're already paying for your email service provider on a monthly basis. So why not?
Yeah.
But I already forgot the
Too frequent. Too frequent
could lead to getting into spam because people are just like annoyed with your emails.
And that's mostly going to be people tagging it to spam, or is there like a interval frequency? Like if you get like an email every 48 hours from some brand, could Google automatically push that to spam?
Yes and no. It depends on the behavior. It's almost like a hive mind, like your list. It's a weird hive mind because if so many people get so many emails from you, it's just there's no more pattern disrupt. And they're like, oh, it's another email from Alex. Oh, it's another email from Alex. So I'm just not going to open it because it's like I opened the last one, so I don't really care. And then like you're constantly getting bombarded by these emails from Alex. And then so much of it happens that if so many people don't open up your email, then Google is going to see like, oh, no one's opening up these emails. Your open rates are low. Then it'll lead to spam.
Again, spam or promotions tab potentially.
Exactly. Yeah. Coupled with people reporting spam or unsubscribing. If your unsubscribe rates are too high, that means you're messaging them too frequently or the message is not relevant enough. So Google also looks at that as well.
Now, are you pretty much always doing some amount of selling in those emails, or is a lot of it, you talked about information? Are you trying to push the information, like, or, maybe, hey, look at this video of this thing that we did or whatever? Like, is that a big part of it too, that'll allow you to increase the open rate and also kind of like, because it sounds like you're in this weird dance with Google. It really
Yeah.
sounds like and the other providers,
Yeah.
and I don't know what percentage of people are Google versus Yahoo. I mean, my
At
mom, I
least
think, has
80%.
all right. Well, yeah. So, and probably a lot of your purchasers, because I
Yeah.
don't want to be rude to people that have Yahoo, but they might like end up being older and be like, I don't buy things on the internet.
You have the AOL emailers just tuning out from this because I can't take it. This isn't relatable.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But yeah, it is a weird dance with Google. I'd rather take this dance than the one with Facebook. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, it just honestly comes down to the right messaging. So we do have a mix in between actual actual value that we provide, and then sometimes at the end of the email, like absolute bottom of the email, we have like a promo. So if we are doing value driven, we have to have at least some sort of a promo at the bottom because that will still drive sales. But even then, if it's not sales focused and it's just like a small product placement, it'll still do really well based on the value, because they would then, like, it doesn't even matter if you're selling on that email because that's just another impression on the customer. So it's like another email from you or like another email from Nike. It's just like, oh, Nike, yeah, I do need new shoes. I should probably stop by the Nike store or something along those lines. Like, it's just an extra impression and an extra hit, and that will lead to the sale. Maybe it's not as direct, but it still does lead to the sale.
Yeah, and I don't want to say most people, but if you read this whole email, you're probably just going to be like, click, I'll go visit the site. I'll just see what's going on the site. Like, I do that for brands that I like. I'll like look at their email and maybe there's nothing even happening. And then I'll just click and poke over to their site and be like, oh, do I need anything? Like, do I want anything? I do that pretty often.
Yeah. And even if marketers do that, normal people are doing it.
Yeah, for sure. You were talking about AI previous to hopping on the call. What's going on for you in the AI world, and what are you using that for?
A lot of it is just figuring out how certain softwares work. So I'm trying to figure out a couple of things on like the content side to help speed up like the research process for some of the YouTube videos and LinkedIn posts that I'm doing. So I'm working on an automation agent to help with like the content side. So, and maybe even deploy it into some other aspects of the business, like the sales side. So like maybe someone or an agent that can help with maybe recommending certain things after a sales call or analyzing my sales calls and saying like, hey, you could have done this better or you could have done this better, that sort of thing. So right now I'm in like the beginning stages of it. I'm almost like a toddler trying to walk. Or is it a toddler? I don't know the age ranges on babies, but a baby trying to walk.
Yeah, getting upright. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is. How familiar are you with AI before I?
Not super. I mean, I get the fundamental concepts, but I have not personally used any of it in our business. Like, sure, I've been on ChatGPT and messed around with it, and I've seen some of the incredible pictures and videos that have been made by these AIs, but that's about to the extent that I've put it to use.
Got it. Okay. I guess I live in a bubble because I always feel like everyone in the marketing space or like the e-com space knows a bit. Essentially, have you heard of Zapier?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an automation tool. Like you do like one node, and it does that task automatically for you.
Yep.
So you have Zapier as like a base like software. And then you have make.com, which is like another version of Zapier with a little bit more customization. And then you have one called N8N. It's like the letter N, number 8, letter N. Mm-hmm. And that one is the one that I'm currently like working on, a little struggly, but it's very it's like the bridge between Zapier and like having your own custom developer working on like your own automations. And that one you can have crazy customization. So I'm in like the early stages of trying to figure out the platform itself. as well as try and figure out how to connect certain APIs to each other, have them talk to each other, doing prompt engineering, that sort of
Mm.
thing. So like this whole entire week has just been diving really, really deep into that. My head hurts a lot
Hmm.
from learning, but yeah, it's every day I've gotten better at trying to figure out and navigate the UI. So now it's just like building on top of that, and I'm trying to get daily reps into it so that way I'm more familiarized.
And what are you hoping comes out of it at the end?
Um,
It's like workflow automation.
Save like 4 hours a day of my time.
Hmm? I'd like
Yeah,
that. I'd
yeah,
like that.
yeah. That's the goal. So like if I have an automation that automatically preps all my sales calls for me the day or like a day before, where I already know everything going on, all the research is done. I just need to read a brief, and I can go into a sales call fresh, and they wouldn't know that everything was automated beforehand, or like
Mm.
I had all that research done beforehand. Because right now I do all my research manually for the first like 30 minutes of the day for all the calls that I'm doing for that day. So
Mm.
like that would be cool. Having all of my content pre-batched, so to a certain point where all I have to do is maybe tweak it a little bit, but it still sounds like me. Instead of spending 3 to 4 hours every Friday batching all of my content, batching all my scripts, and then recording. So save a couple hours there. So all I have to do is just approve, schedule, and then record my YouTube video and have my editor take care of it.
Mm.
And then there's a lot of other aspects that could be done as well, like with client management or client communications and that sort of thing. There's just a lot of use cases. I have like a whole big list in like a Figma board and a general idea on how I'd want to lay it out, but it's a lot harder doing it than having like the little nodes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your content. What content are you attempting to put out there, and what are you hoping to accomplish with it?
A lot of it's just teaching people more on the ecom or like in ecom on the email side of things. Like every single time I'm on a sales call, I try to blow the person's mind away with like what's possible with email marketing, because it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm just sending one email a week. It's like, okay, hear me out. Like one of those types of conversations. And every time they walk away, like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know I could be making this much money with this channel. So like educating them more on strategy, how I would like layer, like set up a certain email, how other brands are doing it right, how other brands are doing it wrong, how to do specific things within Klaviyo. So educating them on the platform, the strategy, and everything that goes into this, because before even transitioning into an email only agency, I didn't know how deep it went. It was
Mm.
only until it was my main focus. I'm like, oh, this goes deep. So similar to you and Amazon, it's like you know how deep it goes. Like you're living it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot of education on that. And on the LinkedIn side, I'm testing out some sarcastic based posts to see, because I'm a I don't want to again toot my own horn, but I think I'm a funny guy. So I'm like, okay, why am I trying to follow like the standard like LinkedIn like playbook of like I where everything has to go back to like B2B SaaS sales or something like that.
Hmm.
Like I don't have to do that. Why don't I just insert like my own little humor and my own little twist to it? So
Mm. And presumably, education leads back to you, leads back to new clients, and just growing your presence.
I mean, content's fun, but yeah, it does.
You want
I
to
mean,
eventually make a sale or two off of it.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't want to
yeah,
do it for like 10 years and be like, wow, I educated so many people. I mean, look, I get it. That's part of this podcast too, is to educate, potential entrepreneurs out there, or entrepreneurs that are starting their journey. Like, how would I do that? How would I go about, beginning this process? But yeah, of course, if we can prove that we're a subject matter expert out there, that's helpful also.
exactly, exactly.
You talked about like B2B, like how would that differ? Like let's, use me for an example.
Yeah,
Um, I'm trying to find the right brand partners to partner with on the Amazon platform. Our group of customers that would be good customers is very small, like very, very niche. So I'm always kind of wondering, like, well, how would I contact this specific company? How would I break through? How would you think about that? Uh, Instead of like, I have 10,000 people, I'm going to email and try to get 1% to convert. It's like I have one person that I need to convert. How would you think about that?
What's your current sales process right now?
Depends if we have a warm referral or not. If we have a
Okay.
cold, let's say this brand is totally cold, that's
Has
obviously
no idea.
they don't know we exist. They don't even maybe know that they need this service. Um, it depends. What I've been doing that's been working really well, and you're gonna laugh at this, but I've been sending pizzas to their office. I'll just send them lunch, and I'll call the pizza place. I'll tell them, hey, remove one slice of pizza, pull it out of every box. They're like, you want me to take a piece of pizza out of every single box? Yes, I want you to take a piece of pizza out
You
of
could
every
eat it,
box.
yeah.
Yeah, usually I'll throw it in like a box at the back end, and then I just have them write on it the missing piece question mark mixed solutions. So like
Hey,
obviously I can't do like 200 of these a week. I mean, if I
you
got some,
could.
I could if I got some folks to help me send them out. But I honestly don't even need that. I need like 1 to 2 a week, and I want to actually like focus on that client. Um, and that's had like a really high rate of people at least responding to calls. So I've been doing that a
Ah.
lot over the last month, leading into this expo where I know they're going to be there. So it's like, hey,
Ah.
you actually can't get away from me, even if you tell me like, hey, thanks for the pizzas, click, hang up. I'm gonna come and stop at your booth. And I'll be like, hey, I'm that crazy guy who sent you the pizzas. Oh yeah, yeah, thanks for that. So we'll see. The expo that I've been prepping up for is next week, but yeah, that's been a really high rate of like you actually have our attention now. Like we'll start to respond to your calls and emails.
That's what I was going to suggest. Some sort of way to personalize an outreach first physical, either through, I wouldn't say lumpy mail because that's a little gimmicky at this point, but
What do you
something,
mean by that?
lumpy mail is where if you send someone a letter, it's a letter and it just gets buried in the pile of letters, especially in an office. Lumpy mail, it's like, let's say you have like a little
Oh, I gotcha.
stress
Yeah, like
ball.
something
Yeah,
that yeah.
yeah, and it makes the package three dimensional, so it's lumpy, so it's always at the top and has a higher open rate.
I'll
I've done
I'll
it,
I'll tell you a
not a
crazy
good.
one I just
Yeah.
got. I got one that it was like just like a little like pamphlet, but I flipped it open and it had a screen in there. It
Oh,
legitimately had a screen and it played like a 1 minute commercial. I was like, this is
what?
crazy. Like, yeah. I was like, I don't even know like how they did that. And it was thin. It was like very thin. It was impressive. I didn't need it. It was insurance. Like I like my insurance guy a lot. He's like my
Yeah.
bro. Like we, hang out and lift weights together. So like I was like, yeah, you're probably not gonna get my insurance business, but it's a cool concept.
Yeah, I would really focus on getting personal with it. So like I would do a lot of research on the actual like decision maker or the team of decision makers, what like their Facebook profile, their LinkedIn profile, their socials, etc. I wouldn't say get weird with it, but like know the person very well. So when it comes to like you sending out that pizza or whatever it is, um, you have like all their contact information, and it's like, well, I know everything about you, but you don't know everything about me, and
Hmm.
then get into like why you're the missing piece or whatever the other pitch is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been the hardest thing is anything that I have done outside of that, whether it be calls or emails, it just really haven't been able to like break through. The pizza thing has worked, well though. So don't fix it. It's not broken right now.
Have you ever had anyone call you back and say like, "Hey, we're a vegan team, and you order us some
I have
pepperoni"?
I have not. And I actually do. I do 10 pepperoni pizzas. That's my go-to usually. You don't want to get 10 cheese pizzas because I think 80% of those people are gonna be like, why is it just cheese? Like this is boring. I think
Wait,
you're
so you're
gonna.
sending 10
Yeah. So
like
I mean, we have a high. Like if I can get this customer, it could be depends on the customer, of course, but we might do $1 million with that customer in year one. So like
ah?
the value of that customer is extremely high. Like
I thought you were saying like one pizza. I'm like one pizza. Like that's great.
no, well usually I try to do research to find out how many people are actually like on
Hmm.
their team and then I buy it for the whole team. Cuz my logic there is if I buy pizza for the whole team and like Scott is the decision maker and I'm like emailing Scott, like next time I see them, I'm going to be like, "Hey, I've
Yeah.
been I've been hammering Scott," and then Brooke will be like, "Yeah, like I got to go talk to Scott. I got to tell him like, did you talk to that guy who bought us all those pizzas? Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, I've been busy." Brooke's gonna be like, "Dude, come on, get on a call with him at least." That's kind of my hope at least. Um, but yeah, so that's my hope is that if I send enough for their team, I don't think I've ever sent more than 10, but I have like had some companies where the warehouse team is like 50 people, and I'm like, like
Yeah.
should I buy like 30 pizzas? Now I'm getting to like $1,000 in pizza. I'm like, I'm willing to spend like $200 to $300, but like I know
Right. Right.
$1,000. My CFO's gonna be like, dude, what did we just spend $1,000 on DoorDash for?
Yeah. At this point, you need like a Domino's or like a Pizza Hut credit card just to rack up them points.
Well, Pizza Hut, if you're listening, they screwed me over because I had to send a pizza in Yazoo City, Mississippi, and Pizza Hut was the only place in town. And I called them, and they're like, yeah, we can do it. I placed the order, and then they call me back. They're like, hey, like I talked to my supervisor, and I am not allowed to take anything out of the box. And I was like, they're like, yeah,
Huh.
the pizza has to arrive totally intact. And I was like, all right, well, that's fine. Can you just write something on like the box, like courtesy of Mixed Solutions? The guy like pauses. He like leaves his phone. He's like, huh? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm not allowed to write anything on the box. I was like, you guys suck. Like,
Okay.
your pizza's average, and I'm not going back to you unless I have to, Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut has been declining, in my opinion.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
Are there other things about email? Like we said, this is such a deep topic. Are there other things about email that people kind of don't understand and don't conceptualize that you think like the masses would be benefited by understanding?
I would say the biggest thing is just like the channel's not dead. It's alive and thriving. Every single year, I see like an article like, is email dead? It isn't. Like, we have customers that are making hundreds of $1,000s a month through just email and SMS itself. So it's like, it's not going away. It's the most reliable, cheap, and relatively inexpensive when it comes to running it. So if you can do it correctly, like, you're going to be reaping the rewards tenfold.
What about SMS? Like, how does that differ? I'm sure it does differ.
It differs a little bit in a sense where it's way more personal. So, you know how we talked about spam rates and getting blocked and whatnot? Well, with SMS, if you bother enough people, you just can't send any more SMS messages. Because it's a very personal channel. It's going straight to your phone. It does have a very high open rate. Like, it's got like a 90% open rate because everyone reads their text messages.
Right.
Depends on, like, the success of SMS. It really depends on the average order value. At least from what I've noticed. Anything below $200 to $150 AOV, it does pretty good. Usually because it's a very impulse purchase and you don't really need that much cash to spend $100 to $150 or $200 on a purchase. Anything above that, like if you think about like the average American family, like it's a pretty big purchase, like $200 to $300. Like if you're buying a $300 kayak or something.
Yeah,
like,
you're going to think about which kayak you want.
you're going to discuss it with your wife, your husband, whoever you're living with. Like, it's a big purchase because that's going to put a strain on your expenses, and you're thinking about it. You're not making an impulse decision with that purchase.
Do you know about my friends over at Send Blue? Is that something you're familiar with?
Send in Blue or
I think it's just called Send Blue, where you can log in to their platform and then you can send people iMessages as opposed to the green text. So like I'm an iPhone user and it'll send it in a blue text. And he's like, dude, our open rate's crazy.
I haven't tested it out yet. I've been meaning to set it up on the B2B comms side for us. So like anytime a prospect comes in, we have blue text being sent out. So I haven't tried that yet, but I heard it about a few weeks ago, and now you're hearing it now is like, okay, I really need to get on it.
Yeah, my friend's the sales director. His name's Sam Queen. He's awesome, man. He's a wild man, but he's really good, and he knows what he's doing on the sales side. You guys would probably like each other.
Hell yeah. I love talking to all sales guys. They got war stories, and that's my favorite thing to talk about.
And he's a wild card, man. He lives in Colombia. He's like an American citizen, lives in Colombia. Like, I haven't even dug into like how that all came together, but I've worked with him like a lot on kind of building out our sales process. And like we said, we're just trying to find like the one thing that works. And apparently it's pizza. Everybody loves pizza.
Yeah, I know a lot of digital, like, I wouldn't say digital nomads, but people in the digital space, either marketing, sales, e-commerce, that are living in Colombia like currently, and it's like, what's going on over there?
Apparently it's fun. I don't know. Fun, low cost of living. He's got a Colombian girlfriend, so I mean, it's I don't know. It's apparently working for Sam. You know,
There's
I
a
don't want to
lot of
out.
benefits.
Yeah. Um, well, cool, brother. Man, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Where can people find you and check out some of your stuff, or if they want to learn more about email marketing or your services, look into those things.
Yeah, absolutely. The best way or the best place to find me is just on the website, aspectagency.com. That's ASPEKT
Hmm.
agency.com. If you're interested, we're doing free audits for listeners of the pod. So just say that you came in from Entrepreneur, among other things, and we'll give you a free email marketing audit.
Mm.
Tell you where you could be making a lot more money in the sections and whatnot. I'm also uploading videos on YouTube every week, teaching people more on email strategy, like we talked about. That's just look up my name, Nikita Vakhrushev, and then I also post every day, except for weekends, on LinkedIn.
Whoa.
Again, email marketing strategy and memes and fun stuff. So
We'll tag all that stuff in the show notes too, man. But thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, dude, if you're saying you're shooting for 40 to 70% open rate, I'm sure a lot of people listening are like 40%. Like, geez, we're getting like 10, 15. Like, just a couple of quick tips that might change things substantially for folks.
more than happy to do it. I love jamming on email with people.
All right, man. Thank you so much, brother. Have a great night.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.